We've all heard the story of Archimedes leaping out of the bathtub and yelling "Eureka!" after a brilliant discovery. But what about the inventions that weren't the result of a dramatic flash of insight? Believe it or not, some of the most world-changing inventions came about purely by accident. From the sticky situation that led to spray-on skin to the burnt offering that birthed potato chips, history is littered with happy accidents that have made our lives easier, tastier, and, well, stickier. I'm Mike with List 25, and here are the 25 greatest inventions that were discovered by accident. 25. Silly Putty. In the high-pressure world of wartime research, serendipity sometimes strikes gold, or in this case, strikes goo. In 1943, chemist James Wright, toiling away on a synthetic rubber project for World War II, made an unexpected discovery. His experiment took an unusual turn, resulting in a strange elastic material that seemed to have a life of its own. This happy mistake laid the foundation for Silly Putty as we know it today. 24. Viagra. The path of scientific discovery is rarely a straight line. Sometimes the most significant breakthroughs come from unexpected detours. Take Viagra, for instance. Developed by Pfizer in the 90s, this now famous drug was originally intended to treat heart conditions. But during clinical trials, something unexpected popped up. Male participants were experiencing, well, let's just say a very enthusiastic response. This unforeseen benefit paved the way for Viagra, a medication that tackled a delicate issue head-on and forever changed the conversation about men's health. 23. Scotchgard. In 1952, a team at 3M was on a mission to create a new type of rubber for aircraft, but then disaster struck. Well, a happy kind of disaster. A spilled beaker of a strange liquid landed on a scientist's shoe. The liquid didn't soak in, but formed a thin layer that repelled further spills. This unexpected turn of events sparked a new line of investigation, ultimately leading to Scotchgard, the revolutionary fabric protector that keeps spills at bay. 22. Ivory Soap. We all know Ivory Soap for its purity, and of course, its legendary ability to float. But did you know that this aquatic feat might be thanks to a lunchtime break gone wrong? Legend has it that back in the day, an Ivory Soap worker forgot to turn off a machine. When he returned from lunch, he found the soap mixture all frothy and puffed up. This happy accident, some say, is the secret behind Ivory Soap's buoyancy. 21. Champagne. For centuries, winemakers in the Champagne region of France strived for perfection, aiming for a smooth, still wine. But fate, and a little fermentation, had other plans. Dom Perignon, a revered figure in champagne production, is often credited with inventing champagne. Now, while he undoubtedly perfected the method, the story goes that he opened a bottle of wine a tad too early. This fortuitous fizz-up transformed a simple wine into a celebratory icon, forever adding a touch of bubbly magic to our most joyous occasions. 20. Matches. Throughout the ages, starting a fire was a laborious task, but then a chance encounter in a chemist's lab sparked a revolution. Pun intended. In 1826, John Walker, a chemist in England, was experimenting with various chemicals. During one such experiment, he scraped a stick coated with these chemicals against his hearth. To his surprise, the friction caused a flame to ignite. Seizing upon this unexpected result, Walker developed the first friction match, a tiny marvel of chemistry that ushered in an era of effortless fire starting. 19. Quinine. For centuries, a natural wonder, discovered through a stroke of luck, has aided humanity's fight against a dreadful disease, malaria. The exact story of its discovery remains shrouded in mystery. Still, it's well known that indigenous people in South America suffering from flu-like symptoms, possibly malaria, noticed a welcome change after consuming cinchona bark. This valuable knowledge was passed down through generations, eventually reaching the ears of Europeans by the 17th century. By 1820, French pharmacists Pierre-Joseph Pelletier and Joseph Bien-Aimé Caventou isolated quinine from the cinchona bark. News of its effectiveness against malaria's chills and fevers spread quickly, and quinine became a recognized weapon in the fight against this illness. 18. X-rays. In 1895, German physicist Wilhelm Röntgen tinkered with cathode rays and stumbled upon something peculiar. Across the room, a fluorescent screen entirely out of the line of sight of the cathode ray tube began to glow faintly. Intrigued by this anomaly, Röntgen investigated further. His explorations led him to a new type of ray that could see right through flesh and bone, revealing the usual suspects hidden beneath the surface. He named them X-rays. a clever placeholder acknowledging the unknown nature of this discovery. Because science. His accidental discovery would revolutionize medicine, allowing doctors to see fractures, foreign bodies, and more. 17. Dry cleaning. Back in 1725, dry cleaning wasn't even an idea. Then something strange happened to a French entrepreneur named Jean-Baptiste Joly. Kerosene, a flammable liquid they used for lights, spilled on his tablecloth. He expected a stain, but instead, the fabric looked surprisingly clean. Even though he wasn't a textile expert, he started exploring the cleaning power of things like kerosene. His experiments showed these liquids could clean clothes without water and laid the foundation for dry cleaning, a method that forever changed how we care for our clothes. 16. Botox Treatment. The 1980s weren't just big hair and neon. It was also the decade we discovered Botox. Dr. Alan Scott, an ophthalmologist, experimented with botulinum toxin to treat crossed eyes and uncontrollable blinking. And it worked. Then, doctors Jean and Alistair Carruthers, an ophthalmologist-dermatologist duo, noticed that their patients had fewer wrinkles around their eyes after treatment, and Botox's cosmetic potential was born. Frown lines became a thing of the past, and even emoji frowns had to step up their game, since a raised eyebrow can say a lot these days. 15. Bubble wrap. In 1957, Alfred Fielding and Marc Chavanez were on a mission to create textured wallpaper. Their attempt involved, well, plastic materials containing trapped air bubbles. While the wallpaper idea didn't stick, they stumbled upon something much more valuable: bubble wrap. Bubble wrap became a packing hero, keeping your online shopping sprees safe and sound. Plus, it provides endless entertainment for anyone who can't resist a good pop. And if you hate bubble wrap, I don't know what's wrong with you. And the new bubble wrap sucks. Yes, it helps protect your things more, but you can't pop it. Stupid. 14. The Slinky. Have you ever given any thought to the origin of the Slinky? In 1943, Richard James, a naval engineer, designed springs for warships. One uneventful day, one of the springs he worked on took a tumble and defied gravity by walking down the steps in a very entertaining way. This unexpected jig sparked James's creativity. He realized the potential for a fun and irresistible toy, and the Slinky was born. 13. Brandy. Back in the 16th century, transporting wine over long distances was a logistical nightmare. The wine almost never survived the journey. Luckily, the Dutch came to the rescue. Faced with terrible wine woes, they experimented with ways to distill the wine and tried boiling it down to a more concentrated form. The end result not only solved their shipping problems, but also accidentally created a new alcoholic beverage, the smooth and sophisticated brandy. 12. Inkjet printers. Believe it or not, your inkjet printer has a connection to ironing? It's true. Apparently, while attending to a particularly stubborn wrinkle, or maybe just having a lousy ironing day, a Canon engineer accidentally left a hot iron near a pen. Upon returning, the pen had begun to leak ink, and somehow the ironing mishap turned into a moment of inspiration. The engineer realized the potential of using heated ink droplets for printing, and the inkjet printer was born. 11. Slurpees. In the 1950s, a Dairy Queen owner named Omar Knedlik had a major malfunction. His soda fountain decided to take a break on a hot day. Instead of panicking, Omar got creative. He popped some leftover soda bottles in the freezer to keep them cool. But when he opened them later, he discovered a delightful surprise. The soda was partially frozen and begging to be sipped, or rather, slurped. Omar's machine meltdown became a monumental moment, the birth of the beloved Slurpee. 10. Dippin Dots. Dippin Dots, those tiny spheres of icy delight, have a surprisingly scientific origin story. In the 80s, a man named Kurt Jones had two passions: science and ice cream. During his day job in a lab, he worked on flash freezing technology using liquid nitrogen, but his nights were dedicated to a different kind of freezing: ice cream. One evening, a spark of genius struck. He aimed the liquid nitrogen at his homemade ice cream and ended up with the iconic Dippin Dots. 9. Radioactivity. The term radioactivity often conjures up images of atomic bombs, calculated rot, and mass destruction. However, the discovery of radioactivity itself was a complete accident. In 1896, a French physicist named Henri Becquerel began a research project to understand how sunlight interacted with specific materials. Unfortunately, his experiments were put on hold due to rainy and cloudy weather. Halted by nature, yet determined to make use of his time, Becquerel stored his research materials, uranium salts, in a drawer with a photographic plate nearby. When he checked on the plate later, he found it exposed, even though it hadn't been in any sunlight. This unexpected result sparked a scientific revolution, leading to the study of radioactivity and its profound impact on medicine, technology, and our understanding of the universe. 8. Cellophane. In 1908, Swiss chemist Jacques Brandenberger witnessed a restaurant tragedy, a tablecloth stained by a clumsy diner. Inspired to create a waterproof barrier, he experimented with a viscous coating for fabric. The results for tablecloths? Not that fantastic. The fabric became stiff as a board. But without even trying to, Brandenberger discovered a transparent film that could separate from the fabric and the future of cellophane. 7. LSD. Albert Hofmann, a Swiss chemist, wasn't trying to drop the mic on the world of perception, it just kind of happened. Working at Sandoz Laboratories, now Novartis, he was tasked with researching medicinal uses for lysergic acid derivatives in 1943. One such derivative, LSD, was synthesized to create a circulatory stimulant. Fast forward 5 years, and LSD was just hanging out on a lab shelf, until in a truly trip-worthy turn of events, Hofmann accidentally absorbed some through his fingertips. What followed wasn't exactly your typical workday. Hofmann experienced a mind meld of restlessness, dizziness, and mind-blowing visuals, a sensory adventure that forever changed the course of psychedelic research. 6. The Pacemaker. Australian engineer Edgar Rice wasn't looking to revolutionize medicine in the 1930s. He was covered in grease, elbow deep in the whirring chaos of a factory. Then, a strange thing happened. A relay switch started acting up, emitting a rhythmic tick-tock that cut through the usual industrial symphony. This seemingly mundane malfunction sparked a brilliant connection in Rice's mind. The steady pulse of the switch mirrored the human heartbeat, and an idea took hold, an early version of the artificial pacemaker. 5. Spray-on skin. In the early 2000s, Australian scientist Fiona Wood and her team were on a mission to help burn victims. They were experimenting with a mix of skin cells and a protective polymer when things got interesting, and probably a little messy, when they discovered they could actually spray this concoction onto wounds. Their breakthrough and accidental discovery would become known as spray-on skin, a revolutionary treatment that promotes healing and reduces scarring. 4. Smoke detectors. The humble smoke detector's origin story is anything but ordinary. In the 1930s, Swiss physicist Walter Jaeger was trying to come up with a machine capable of detecting poisonous gases. However, while testing his invention, Jaeger noticed something peculiar. The device went off whenever he lit a cigarette. I think it probably was trying to tell him something, but the unexpected reaction from Jaeger's bad habit turned into a life-saving invention, and the rest, as they say, is history. 3. Dynamite. Science isn't always sunshine and rainbows. Dynamite's origin story is a perfect example of this. In 1847, Italian chemist Ascanio Sobrero accidentally created nitroglycerin, an incredibly powerful and highly volatile explosive. Sobrero was horrified by its potential for destruction, but his lab mate, Alfred Nobel, saw a commercial opportunity. Nobel eventually invented dynamite by taming nitroglycerin with silica powder, though not before blowing up his factories a couple times, and became a wealthy industrialist. Sobrero, on the other hand, spent his days wrestling with the ethical implications of his accidental creation, a stark reminder to all scientists to choose their collaborators wisely, because sometimes their vision for your discovery might not be as peaceful as your own. 2. Potato chips. They say necessity is the mother of invention, but in 1853, annoyance birthed the potato chip. Chef George Crumb was fed up with a customer's complaints about soggy fries. In a fit of delicious defiance, Crumb sliced the potatoes paper thin and fried them to a golden crisp. But instead of a revenge dish, a revolution was born. The customer loved them, and the crispy potato chip became a global phenomenon. 1. Coca-Cola. Who knew a headache remedy could turn into a global icon? Well, that's the story of Coca-Cola. In 1886, John Pemberton was mixing concoctions when he stumbled upon a recipe that tickled the taste buds more than soothed headaches. He mixed syrup with carbonated water, and voila, Coca-Cola was born. And yes, the original recipe did contain trace amounts of cocoa leaf extract, then thought to have medicinal properties. Today, however, Coca-Cola is formulated without any of that funny stuff and remains a global icon. A reminder that sometimes the greatest discoveries come from aiming for one thing and then landing on something completely different. So, which of these invention mistakes are you most thankful for? Let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and check out our social medias, including my personal ones, links in that description below. But what other seemingly ordinary things might hold extraordinary secrets? Click on this link and I will tell you all about the dark secrets of everyday objects. From common items to household essentials, you'll be amazed at the dark secrets of our everyday life. Just click right here. It won't be here, but we did an entire video on Coca-Cola, so you might like that. Check it.